It all started on a regular Wednesday afternoon in a quiet, upper-middle-class neighborhood, the kind where everyone knows everyone, and anything unusual stands out like a sore thumb. A delivery driver named Jay was doing his usual rounds, dropping off packages with the efficiency of someone who'd been doing this for years. He wasn't loud, he wasn't doing anything sketchy, just headphones in, scanning boxes, walking up to doors with a smile. But someone was watching. From behind her perfectly trimmed hedges and suspiciously clean windows, Karen stood with a phone in hand and eyes that screamed trouble. She'd seen Jay's van pull into the cul-de-sac and immediately felt something wasn't right. Not because he was doing anything wrong, but because she didn't recognize him. And in Karen's world, that was enough. She peeked from behind her blinds, mumbling to herself about suspicious activity, and within minutes, she was outside, arms crossed, marching toward Jay like she owned the entire zip code. He was scanning a box on the porch when he heard it, the unmistakable sound of someone clearing their throat in that way people do when they want to start a fight without saying a word. And just like that, the peace of the afternoon was gone. Jay had just finished scanning the third package on his list for that street. He adjusted his cap, earbuds still in, lo-fi beats keeping his pace calm. The sun was soft, filtered through tall trees that lined the quiet neighborhood like security guards in green uniforms. Everything about this place screamed control, from the symmetrical flower beds to the exact same mailbox at every house. Jay didn't think much of it. He'd been here a dozen times before. But today felt different. He turned slightly to head back toward his van when he felt it, that weird prickle on the back of his neck. You know, the one you get when someone's staring at you with laser precision. He turned his head slightly and saw her, Karen, arms crossed, lips pursed like she'd just bitten into something sour. Her posture, aggressively rigid. Her eyes, fixed on him like he'd just jumped the fence with a crowbar. Jay reached for the next package, pretending not to notice, but his gut already knew she was coming. And just like that, she was there. "Excuse me," she snapped, standing just close enough to make her presence feel like an intrusion. Jay paused his music and looked up. "Can I help you?" he asked, eyebrows raised, polite but cautious. "Yes, actually," Karen replied, her voice dripping with suspicion. "I've never seen you here before. What are you doing?" She was already holding her phone, camera ready. Jay blinked, a little thrown. "I'm delivering packages," he said, holding up his scanner and motioning toward the box on the step. "I do this route every other week." Karen scoffed. "I don't think so. I know everyone on this street. This is a private neighborhood. You can't just come in here." Jay gave a short chuckle, thinking maybe she was joking. "I've got a manifest and everything. You can check it if you want," he said, pulling the printed sheet from his dashboard. Karen didn't even glance at it. She stepped closer. "You need to show me ID, company badge, something official." Jay kept his cool, but inside his patience was thinning. "Ma'am, with all due respect, I don't have to show you anything. I work for a delivery service. You can call them if you'd like." Big mistake. Her face darkened. "Oh, I will be calling someone. Don't move," she snapped. And then she said it, the line that flipped the switch from awkward to absurd. "I'm placing you under citizen's arrest." Jay blinked. "What?" Karen didn't even flinch. "You're trespassing. That's illegal. I can legally detain you until the police arrive." He stared at her, half expecting a prank camera crew to jump out from behind a bush. But she was dead serious. Her phone was now pointed at him, filming. "This man is in our neighborhood unlawfully. I have never seen him before. He's taking pictures of houses and pretending to drop off packages. I believe he's scoping the area for a robbery. I am detaining him under citizen's arrest." Jay couldn't believe what he was hearing. "Lady, I'm just trying to drop off packages. If you really think I'm a criminal, call the cops and let them handle it." But she wasn't budging. Karen took a dramatic step in front of his van, physically blocking his path. "You're not leaving, not until the authorities get here." She paced in front of the vehicle like a guard on high alert. Jay stood by the driver's side door, dumbfounded. He glanced around to see if anyone was watching, hoping maybe a neighbor would come out and defuse the situation. But all the windows were shut, curtains drawn. Typical. He pulled out his phone and started recording too. "Ma'am, I'm filming this for my own safety. You're accusing me of a crime and I don't feel safe." Karen's face twisted. "Oh, now you're threatening me?" she hissed.
Go ahead, film away. You're just giving me more evidence. I've got HOA authority. I will get you arrested." HOA authority? Jay almost laughed. "That's not how any of this works," he muttered. But Karen had shifted into full performance mode now. She walked up to his van and started inspecting it, like she was a CSI agent on a case. She peered into the windows, took photos of the license plate, even sniffed at the packages in the back like she expected to find something illegal. Jay couldn't help but shake his head. "Seriously?" She whipped around. "Yes, seriously. I care about my neighborhood. Unlike you, who just drives in like you own the place. We've had incidents before. Strange men driving around, pretending to be delivery drivers and casing homes." Jay had heard this excuse before. The whole strange man narrative. It was always the same. Disguised fear wrapped in faux community concern. But this was different. This woman was delusional. She was escalating. And that made her dangerous. And then, like clockwork, she dialed 911, right there in front of him. "911? What's your emergency?" The operator's voice came faintly through the speaker as she held the phone out, eyes still locked on Jay. "Yes, I'm calling to report a suspicious man in our neighborhood. He's taking photos of houses, pretending to be a delivery man. I'm currently detaining him under citizen's arrest until police arrive." Jay's jaw dropped. She really said it, out loud, on a 911 call, citizen's arrest. He stepped away slightly, just enough to show his own phone camera her actions. "You understand you're falsely reporting, right?" he said calmly. "I've got my manifest. I've got a scanner. I've got uniform and ID. You're harassing me." Karen wasn't listening. She was walking in circles now, narrating to her phone as if she were some sort of Instagram detective. "This is what happens when you let strangers into gated communities. I've lived here for 17 years. I've never seen this man before. He does not belong." Jay glanced at his watch. He still had 10 more deliveries to go. This woman was wasting his time and making him feel like a criminal in the process. "I don't have time for this," he muttered, and started moving toward the driver's door. She stepped in front again. "You take one more step and I'll consider it resisting." "Resisting what?" he snapped. "You're not a cop." That was it. That was the moment her face changed again, like she'd been waiting for him to slip. "Aggressive behavior. You all saw that," she shouted to no one. "He just lunged at me." Jay took a step back, held up his phone. "I'm recording. I didn't touch you. I haven't moved aggressively once. This is all on camera." His voice was calm, but his heart was racing. She was dangerous in the way that only entitled people with too much free time can be. She genuinely believed she had the right to control him, to accuse him, to block his work. Then a neighbor's front door creaked open. Jay's eyes flicked toward the sound, hope rising for the first time. Maybe someone would finally say something. Maybe someone would end this madness before it spiraled further. But before he could call out, Karen turned toward the neighbor, hand in the air like she was signaling backup. "Don't worry, I've got it handled," she yelled. And just when Jay thought this couldn't get any crazier, flashing lights reflected off the windows. The cops had arrived. And Karen? She stood taller, victorious. But what she didn't know, what she couldn't know, was that this moment, this was where it would all start to unravel. The police cruiser rolled up slow, like it knew this neighborhood didn't see much real action. The sirens weren't blaring, but those soft flashes of red and blue across the front lawns and white garage doors were enough to bring the drama to a full boil. Karen stood taller, straighter, and more smug than ever. She took a deep breath and did that little hair flip thing women like her always seem to do when they think they're about to be proven right. Jay, meanwhile, kept his camera rolling. His other hand was gripping the delivery scanner like a lifeline, not out of fear, but just to ground himself. He wasn't nervous about the cops, not really. What he was worried about was Karen's version of the story being the first one they heard. She looked like someone from a magazine cover about neighborhood security, while Jay, a tired delivery guy in worn sneakers and a sweat-stained cap, didn't exactly scream trust fund energy. He knew how this could go. So when the officer stepped out of the cruiser, calm and cautious, Jay didn't say a word at first. Let her speak. Let her dig her own grave. And boy, did she. The moment the officer approached, Karen launched into a full monologue. "Officer, Thank God you're here. I've been detaining this man for at least 10 minutes. He's suspicious, aggressive, possibly casing houses. I believe he's here under false pretenses. He claims to be a delivery driver, but I've never seen him before, and he doesn't have any proper ID. He threatened me when I tried to stop him leaving. She pointed at Jay like she was identifying a criminal on a wanted poster. Jay didn't even flinch. He just stared at the officer and waited. The officer glanced at Karen, then at Jay, then at the van, clearly marked with the company's name, logo, and even the number to call for verification. Then he looked back at Jay. Sir, can I see your delivery manifest and your company ID? Jay nodded, silent but cooperative. He handed over the printed manifest, the scanner with the matching entries, and pointed toward the stack of labeled packages in the back of the van, all barcoded and sealed. The officer examined them without a word, flipping through the paper, cross-checking names with addresses, even looking at the timestamps on the scanner. Karen, still talking, kept trying to lean in and add her commentary. I don't trust those scanners. He could have stolen them. Anyone can get a fake ID online nowadays. Have you seen what people can do with a printer? The officer calmly raised a hand to quiet her. Ma'am, I'll get to you. Please let me speak to him. And that was the first crack in Karen's confidence. Jay finally spoke. Officer, I've been delivering here for months. Every second Thursday. Same houses, same route. I've got dashcam footage of every stop I've made today. She approached me while I was dropping off a package, blocked my vehicle, accused me of being a thief. She said she was placing me under citizen's arrest and called 911 on me, all because she didn't recognize me. I've recorded the entire interaction on my phone. She's been filming me too, claiming HOA authority. Karen's voice jumped back in, a little shriller this time. Because you were acting suspicious. You parked for too long. You didn't knock. You just left boxes and walked away. That's what thieves do. It's sketchy. And when I tried to ask you questions, you got aggressive. Jay looked the officer dead in the eyes. I never raised my voice, never touched her, never stepped toward her. Everything's on video. The officer turned to Karen. Ma'am, did he ever touch you? Make any physical threats? Karen paused, just a beat too long. Well, no, but his tone was threatening. He looked angry. Jay raised an eyebrow. You accused me of breaking the law, filmed me, blocked my exit, and called the police. Wouldn't you be frustrated? The officer's silence spoke volumes. He handed back the manifest and scanner. Everything checks out. You're free to continue your route. Karen's jaw dropped. Excuse me? That's it? You're not even going to write a report? The officer's tone shifted slightly, firmer now. Ma'am, there's no crime here. This man is working legally with proper documentation. Making false claims to 911 is a serious offense. Detaining someone without cause? That's bordering on harassment. Her face flushed deep red, but instead of backing off, Karen doubled down. So you're taking his side? I'm the one protecting this community. You don't know the kind of people we've had around here. Break-ins, vandalism, shady people lurking around. Jay interrupted, his voice cutting through the rising tension. And every time it's someone who doesn't look like you, right? Karen gasped like he'd slapped her. I don't see color. Don't you dare accuse me of that. But the officer was already stepping between them. All right, that's enough. Sir, you're free to go. Ma'am, I'm going to ask you to return to your property. If there are any further issues, you can file a complaint with the HOA, not the police. Karen looked like she was going to explode. Her mouth opened, closed, then opened again. But she had nothing, no ground left. She gave Jay one final glare, the kind that promises revenge, and stormed back toward her house. Jay exhaled deeply, finally turning off his recording. He climbed back into his van, but just as he put it in drive, the officer knocked lightly on his window. Jay rolled it down, curious. Sorry about all that, the officer said, lowering his voice. You handled it well. You're not the first person she's done this to. We've had a few calls from this block. She gets overzealous. Jay chuckled dryly. Yeah, that's one word for it. The officer nodded. Stay safe, and maybe get a dash cam that captures audio too, just in case. Jay thanked him, pulled away, and started up the block. But he couldn't help glancing in the side mirror. Karen hadn't gone inside. She was standing at her gate, arms still crossed, phone still in hand, watching him drive away like he'd just gotten away with murder. He knew it wasn't over, not with people like her. They don't just back down, they escalate. And sure enough, 20 minutes later, while Jay was at a house 2 blocks over, he got a call from his dispatch. They'd received a complaint. Someone had called the company claiming he'd been aggressive and rude, that he'd threatened a resident and refused to identify himself. The report had been flagged for review. Jay's stomach dropped. All it took was one entitled neighbor and a phone call, and now he was at risk of losing hours or even his route. He explained everything to the dispatcher, even offered to send the footage from his phone. They said they'd review it, but the damage was done. His name was in the system now. But Karen wasn't done. Oh no, she wasn't the type to stop at just calling the company. Jay found out the next day that she'd posted the video to the neighborhood Facebook group, the same one where everyone shared lost cat flyers and bake sale reminders. Except this time, the headline read, "Suspicious man poses as delivery driver in broad daylight. HOA ignored my warning." And guess what? The video was heavily edited, cropped to cut out the officer's response. No sound. Just Karen narrating in text overlay, painting herself as the brave suburban hero standing up to the big bad outsider. The comments section was a battlefield. Some people believed her, said she did the right thing, said they'd felt unsafe seeing unfamiliar vans in the area too. But others started asking questions. Where was the full footage? Why didn't the police do anything? Why did the man have all the correct documentation if he wasn't legit? Jay didn't even want to engage. But then, his coworker sent him a screenshot. Karen had tagged the company's official page, demanding an investigation, threatening to take it to the media if they didn't fire him immediately. This wasn't just a bad interaction anymore. This was personal. She wasn't letting go. And Jay realized something chilling. She was trying to ruin his life over nothing, because she didn't recognize him, because she felt entitled to control her entire neighborhood, because in her world, being uncomfortable was the same as being in danger. But Jay wasn't going to stay quiet anymore. And what he did next? That's when everything truly blew up. For a split second, everything went still. The cruiser crept into view like a shark gliding into shallow waters, silent but heavy with implication. The flashing lights, though not blaring, painted the white picket neighborhood in urgent reds and ominous blues. Jay didn't move. He didn't flinch. He just kept the camera rolling. His gut told him that what was about to happen could either turn this encounter into a closed chapter or blow it wide open. And Karen? She straightened up like someone preparing for a red carpet interview. You could almost hear the smugness in her breath as she turned to face the approaching officer, the weight of white suburbia and self-righteousness dripping from every step she took. Jay stayed by his van, watching the situation unfold with the patience of a man who's seen this movie before, too many times. Karen didn't wait for the officer to even finish closing the door before launching into her monologue. "Officer, thank you for coming. I've apprehended this man," she gestured with theatrical flair, "who I believe is pretending to be a delivery driver. He's suspicious, possibly scoping out the neighborhood for theft. I've detained him for the safety of our community." She said detained, like she was some kind of neighborhood Batman, not a woman in pastel yoga pants and oversized sunglasses. She didn't even let the officer ask a question before going on. He got aggressive when I tried to question him, refused to show proper ID, and became confrontational. I think he might be dangerous. Jay raised an eyebrow but said nothing. He knew better than to interrupt a Karen in full performance mode. The officer, to his credit, kept a neutral face. He turned toward Jay and spoke in a calm but firm tone. "Sir, may I see your delivery manifest and any ID you have?" Jay nodded silently, pulled out the printed route sheet, handed over the barcode scanner still logged into his company's system, and showed his laminated ID badge. The van, parked neatly along the curb, was fully wrapped with the company's branding, license number, and even a QR code linking to the logistics app. Everything matched. It was as legit as it gets. Karen, undeterred, tried to peek over the officer's shoulder. "I don't trust any of that. Anyone can print a badge these days. You should see how realistic fakes can be now. And I'm pretty sure the van wrap could be a cover-up. Criminals are getting smarter." Her voice climbed in pitch, the hysteria subtly leaking through. The officer gave her a sidelong glance. "Ma'am, I will address your concerns after I've spoken to him. Please give us some space." That was the first dent in her armor, just a slight one, but noticeable. Her lips pursed, her jaw twitched, and for a moment, she hesitated. Jay noticed it. So did the small group of neighbors who had now begun watching from behind curtains or through slightly open doors. The officer examined the documents with a level of detail that felt more like thoroughness than suspicion. "Looks like everything's in order," he finally said, handing them back. "Route matches the location, badge checks out, and I can see the packages are clearly marked." He glanced at the packages stacked in the open van door, each one neatly labeled, time-stamped, scanned, and logged. It was a delivery man's paperwork heaven. Karen's mouth opened like a malfunctioning animatronic. "You're just going to believe him? What about my word? What about the way he spoke to me?" Jay stepped forward just slightly, enough to show confidence but not aggression. "I didn't say a word until you started filming me and calling me a thief. I told you I was working, showed you the scanner, and asked you to move your car. You blocked me in and said you were placing me under citizen's arrest. I have it all recorded." He tapped the phone, still filming. Karen paled slightly, then rebounded with that practiced suburban outrage. "He's lying. He's twisting things. He was hostile. And anyway, what kind of delivery driver doesn't knock and wait at the door? He just leaves the packages and walks away like he's sneaking off. That's shady behavior." Jay looked at the officer again. "Company policy. We don't wait around anymore. Too many complaints from people saying they weren't dressed or didn't want to be disturbed. Everything's drop and scan now. Fast and contactless. That's how it works." The officer nodded slowly, clearly more interested in facts than feelings. "I understand. It matches what other drivers have said before. No problem there." Then he turned back to Karen. "Ma'am, did he at any point threaten you, touch you, or behave violently?" Karen blinked. "Well, not exactly, but his tone was threatening. His presence was aggressive. He stared at me like, she faltered, like he was daring me to do something." That's when Jay chuckled, just once, dryly. "You accused me of being a criminal in the middle of my job, called the cops, blocked my car, filmed me without consent, all because I didn't look familiar. Of course I was annoyed. Wouldn't you be?" The officer remained quiet, but his posture shifted slightly, away from suspicion and closer to annoyance. Not at Jay, but at Karen. "Ma'am, unless there was a direct threat or physical altercation, there's no legal basis for detaining someone. Making false claims to the police is serious. I suggest you avoid interfering with delivery personnel in the future." Boom, that was it. Karen's jaw went slack. "You're taking his side? He could have robbed a house. I was trying to protect the neighborhood." "No," the officer said plainly. "You were profiling him, and potentially wasting police time." That hit her hard. She sputtered, turned in a circle like someone who'd lost her bearings, then pointed again. "You'll regret this. If something happens, it's on your head." Then she stomped back toward her front lawn, but not into her house. No, she wasn't done yet. Jay watched her from the corner of his eye. She stood near her porch, phone still clutched tight, probably thinking of what to post next or who to call next. The officer leaned in closer to Jay, voice low. "You handled it well. Honestly, you're not the first person she's done this to. We've had similar calls from this block before. She's persistent." Jay nodded slowly. "Yeah, I got that vibe." The officer sighed and stepped back. "Keep your footage, just in case, and maybe let your dispatcher know what happened. It's always better when there's documentation on both sides." Jay thanked him, climbed back into his van, and slowly pulled off the curb. But in his side mirror, Karen was still standing there, watching, fuming. And when he turned the corner and disappeared from view, he had the strangest feeling that the whole thing wasn't over, not by a long shot. And he was right. 25 minutes later, while unloading a package 3 blocks down, his work phone buzzed. The dispatcher's tone was clipped and formal. "Hey Jay, we got a complaint call about you. Claims of aggression and refusing to show ID. It's been flagged and escalated. We'll have to file a report, just a heads up." Jay's stomach sank. He explained everything. Told them about the recording, the police response, The whole citizens arrest insanity, but policy was policy. A flag was a flag, and it meant an internal review. He might lose hours, might lose the route altogether. He promised to send the footage in immediately. But the real punch came later that evening. Jay's coworker sent him a screenshot. Karen had posted to the local Facebook group, the same group where folks usually argued about trash pickup schedules or lost cats. This time, the post was titled in all caps, "Suspicious man pretending to be delivery driver. HOA ignored me." The video she posted was edited within an inch of its life. No audio, no context. Just shaky footage of Jay loading a van, walking away from a porch, and standing near the curb. The overlay text? Refused to identify himself, got aggressive, police were called, be alert. The comments were a mixed bag, some praising her for speaking up, others asking for proof, and a few brave souls straight up calling her out. "Wasn't this guy cleared by the cops?" one comment read. "That's not how deliveries work anymore. You sound paranoid," said another. But Karen wasn't done. She had tagged Jay's delivery company in the post, demanded an investigation, said if they didn't respond, she'd go to the media. And now, things weren't just awkward, they were dangerous. Because when someone like her decides you're the enemy, they don't stop at a confrontation. They try to ruin you. Jay sat in silence for a long while, the glow of the phone screen burning into his thoughts. She wasn't going to stop. Not now. Not until he was off this route, or out of a job entirely. And that's when Jay realized, if she was going to fight dirty, he had to fight smarter. What he did next? That's when everything began to spiral in a way no one could have expected. Not Karen, not the neighbors, not even Jay himself. Jay didn't sleep much that night. His mind was spinning, not from fear anymore, but from something else entirely. A mix of rage, relief, and a strange kind of vindication. The kind that doesn't feel like a win, but more like surviving a battle you never asked to fight. He kept replaying the moment the officer looked Karen in the eyes and told her, flat out, "You were profiling him." Those 5 words hit like thunder. And yet, the storm wasn't over. By morning, Jay's phone was on fire. Messages, comments, shares. His video had spread like wildfire, not just in the neighborhood group, but beyond. His uncut footage had been shared by a few medium-sized creators, and now people were reacting to it like it was a scene from a Netflix thriller. But this wasn't fiction. This was his life. The comment sections were flooded with messages of support, some from people who'd been through the same thing. Delivery drivers, janitors, nurses, teachers, even one ex-cop. All of them had one thing in common. They knew a Karen when they saw one. His inbox was filled with variations of, "Thank you for posting this," and "This happened to my brother," and "This needs to go viral." But the real twist came around noon, when Jay received a call from his manager. The voice on the other end was way more chipper than yesterday. "Jay, you're not in trouble," she said before he could even say hello. "In fact, you've been cleared completely. We saw your footage. HQ saw it too. And honestly, they're impressed with how you handled it. Calm, professional, focused. You're keeping your route, full hours, and we're logging an official incident report about Karen, with your video as evidence. If she calls again, it won't even make it past the switchboard." Jay exhaled, finally. But it didn't feel like closure. Not really. Because he knew, deep down, that if he hadn't recorded that moment, everything might have gone differently. It could have been his word against hers. And when a Karen plays victim, people tend to listen, especially when you don't look like you belong in a nice neighborhood. Later that day, one of Jay's coworkers texted him a screenshot from the neighborhood group again. Karen's original post? Deleted. Gone. But it didn't go quietly. The comments had turned against her. People started questioning her motives, her behavior, even her history. Turns out, Karen wasn't new to this kind of chaos. Other neighbors came forward anonymously. She had falsely accused a black gardener of snooping near her fence, tried to call the police on a teenage girl selling school raffle tickets, reported a Spanish-speaking family having a barbecue for being too loud on a Sunday afternoon. She had a pattern. Jay's video didn't just show a moment, it exposed a mindset. And now, the neighborhood wasn't buying her act anymore. But Jay wasn't celebrating. Not exactly. Instead, he posted one more video. Not the raw footage. Not the confrontation. Just him, sitting in his car, talking, calm, honest, raw. "I didn't post that video to start drama," he began. "I posted it because I know how it feels to be accused of something you didn't do. I know how it feels to have someone look at you and decide you're a threat. Not because of what you did, but because of who you are or how you look, or because they don't recognize your face on their block. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't throw a fit. I didn't push back. But I did record it. And that made all the difference." He looked down for a second, then back at the lens. "There are so many people who go through this without evidence, without backup, without someone who'll believe them. I got lucky, but what if I didn't have my phone out? What if I did snap? What would the headline have been then? Angry delivery driver lashes out. Suspicious man caught on camera? No one would have heard my side. That's the scary part." The video ended with a single quiet sentence. This wasn't about packages. This was about power, and who people think deserves to have it. And just like that, Jay's story wasn't just his story anymore. It became everyone's. If you've been watching this series, feeling your blood boil, your heart race, your mind scream, "This is so wrong," then you're exactly the person this channel is for. Because we don't just tell stories. We shine a light on what people try to hide. We bring receipts. We expose the Karens, the lies, the power trips, and the twisted games. And we give the mic back to the people who've been silenced. So if you're tired of fake apologies, of performative tears, of the "I didn't mean it like that" excuses, if you believe the truth deserves to be heard, even when it's uncomfortable, then hit that subscribe button, not just to support these stories, but to be part of a movement, one that refuses to look away. Subscribe, stay loud, stay watching. Because Karen may have picked the wrong guy this time, but next time, it could be someone you know, and we'll be right here, telling their story.